All right, y'all gather round. You can keep roasting your marshmallows, but take your seats, 'cause I've got a story for you tonight. Go ahead, grab those flashlights, blankets, or whatever you need for comfort, because I tell you this one is a doozy. It all happened on a lake exactly like the one right here where we're camping tonight, just known by a different name. The lake was dark, black as ink. The moon hid behind the clouds. No stars, just the dark. Lake Whisper was known for its spooky stories. Tonight, it was living up to its name. The wind whispered through the trees. It sounded like someone was crying, or maybe screaming. The hair on your arm stands up. Something wasn't right. 4 friends sat around a crackling fire, the night sky above them dotted with countless stars. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and the distant hoot of an owl. They were miles away from civilization, surrounded by the serene wilderness. They were cozy in their sleeping bags, wrapped up tightly to ward off the chill of the night. The warmth of the fire was a comforting contrast to the cool air around them. But the stories they were sharing weren't cozy at all. They were telling scary stories, each one more terrifying than the last. The flickering flames cast eerie shadows on their faces, making the tales even more spine-chilling. "Legend has it," whispered Jake, his eyes wide with excitement and fear, "that a sea monster lives in this very lake." His voice was barely audible over the crackling fire, adding to the suspense. "It comes out at night to snatch people," he continued, pointing towards the dark, still waters of the lake. The moonlight reflected off the surface, making it look even more mysterious and foreboding. "Stop it, Jake," said Emily, shivering despite the warmth of the fire. "You're scaring us." Her voice wavered, betraying her attempt to sound brave, but even she looked a little scared. The fear was contagious, spreading through the group like wildfire. They glanced nervously at each other, their imaginations running wild. The fire crackled loudly, and a log broke in two with a sharp snap. The sudden noise was jarring, breaking the tense silence that had settled over them. It sounded like a bone snapping, and everyone jumped, their hearts racing. The night seemed to grow darker, the shadows deeper. They laughed nervously, trying to shake off the fear. But the sound of the snapping log lingered in the air, a haunting reminder of the stories they had just heard. The night was far from over, and the tales had only just begun. A strange noise, a soft splash. Was it just a fish? They all stopped talking, listening, holding their breath. The sound came again, closer this time. "What was that?" whispered Maria, her eyes wide with fear. No one answered. They all stared into the darkness, towards the lake, their hearts pounded in their chests. Then silence. But the silence was worse. It was heavy, like something was watching them, waiting. The next morning, the friends were determined to find out what made the noise. They were scared, but also curious. They searched the woods near the lake, looking for clues. "Look!" shouted David, pointing to the muddy ground. There were large footprints, unlike anything they had ever seen before. Fear turned to excitement. They had to find out what it was. They followed the footprints deeper into the woods. The air grew colder, the forest darker. The footprints led to a clearing. The forest was eerily silent, with only the rustling of leaves breaking the stillness. The group hesitated, feeling an unsettling chill in the air. In the center was a small, murky pond. The water was dark and uninviting, with a layer of greenish scum floating on the surface. It looked like it hadn't been disturbed in years. The air was thick with a foul smell, like rotten eggs. It was almost suffocating, making it hard to breathe. The mist hung low, adding to the eerie atmosphere, and then they saw it. The group froze, their eyes wide with fear and disbelief. They couldn't believe what they were witnessing. A large, dark shape moved beneath the surface of the pond. It was coming closer. The water rippled as the shape approached, creating small waves that lapped at the edges of the pond. Bubbles rose to the surface. The smell intensified. It was as if the pond itself was alive. breathing out a noxious gas that made their eyes water. Suddenly, the shape burst from the water. It happened so quickly that they barely had time to react. Water splashed everywhere, drenching the group. It was a giant turtle. Its massive form loomed over them, casting a shadow that seemed to swallow the light. Its shell was covered in mud and algae. The thick layer of grime made it look ancient, as if it had been lurking in the depths for centuries. Its eyes glowed red in the dim light. The eerie glow sent shivers down their spines, making them feel as if they were being watched by something otherworldly. The campers screamed and ran. The forest echoed with their frantic cries, the sound of snapping branches and rustling leaves adding to the chaos. Fear gripped their hearts as they sprinted through the dense underbrush, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. They ran back through the woods as fast as they could. The path was treacherous, with roots and rocks threatening to trip them at every step. But the adrenaline coursing through their veins kept them moving, driven by an overwhelming need to escape. They didn't stop running until they reached their campsite. Their faces were pale, eyes wide with terror. The once peaceful campsite now seemed like a fragile sanctuary, barely holding back the unknown horrors of the forest. They packed up their things and threw them in the car. Hands trembling, they fumbled with the zippers and straps, desperate to leave as quickly as possible. The urgency in their movements was palpable, each second feeling like an eternity. No one spoke a word. The silence in the car was heavy, filled with unspoken fears and questions. Each person was lost in their own thoughts, replaying the terrifying events over and over in their minds. They just wanted to get away from that place. The car sped down the winding road, the forest quickly disappearing behind them. The further they got, the lighter the air seemed to become, but the tension inside the vehicle remained. As they drove away, Emily looked back at the lake. Her heart pounded in her chest as she strained to see through the rear window, hoping that what she thought she saw was just a figment of her imagination. She thought she saw the giant turtle watching them from the shore. Its massive form was unmistakable, standing out against the dark water. The sight sent a shiver down her spine. Its red eyes glowed in the darkness. The eerie light seemed to pierce through the night, following them as they drove away. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, even as the lake faded into the distance. The campers never went back to Lake Whisper. The experience had shaken them to their core. They couldn't escape the memory of that horrible smell, or those glowing red eyes. And sometimes, late at night, when they were home in their own beds, they would hear a soft splash, a whisper in the dark, a haunting reminder of the giant turtle of Lake Whisper. Would you believe nobody ever found the turtle? Authorities claimed the story was just a hoax. But the campers' nightmares tell a much different story. And every now and again, another tale pops up. But that was back before they changed the name of our fine lake. Some say that turtle must have finally passed. All right, someone hand me one of those marshmallows before the turtle gets it. Ha ha ha.